Hello my dear students, welcome back to chemistry online class. So in the last session we already discussed about the calculations involving significant figures, then important terminologies used under numerical calculation, that is precision, accuracy, then error, exact number, then fifth term is dimensional analysis, or it is also called as the unit factor method. And the one more important concept is introduced in the last session, that is nothing but the laws of chemical combinations. And out of 5 laws of chemical combinations already in the last class, so 2 important laws of chemical combinations are over. One is law of conservation of mass, and the second one is called as law of definite proportion, or we call it as law of constant proportion, students. And now in the today's session we'll discuss the other 3 laws of chemical combinations with one additional law called as law of reciprocal proportion, students. And before starting the third important law of chemical combination, let us recall the law of conservation of mass and the law of constant proportion. Yes, tell me student, what is the statement of law of conservation of mass? Yes, the total mass of the reactants in a chemical reaction is equal to the total mass of the products in the same chemical reaction. Or mass can neither be created nor be destroyed. So this is the statement of law of conservation of mass, students. And this law of conservation of mass was given by the scientist name called as Anthony Laurent Lavoisier. And the second important law, yes, tell me student, what is the statement of law of constant proportion or law of definite proportion, students? Yes, what is the statement? Yes, a chemical compound, however prepared, containing same elements, combines with each other in a fixed whole number ratio by mass. That is the statement of law of constant proportion, students. Or the second statement, whatever may be the source of a compound, the constituent elements present in a compound are always in the same fixed proportion, or in the same definite proportion, or in the same constant proportion, students. So this is the second important law called as a definite proportion, or we call it as a constant proportion, students. And this law of constant proportion was given by the scientist name called as Joseph Proust. And now coming to the third important law, that is under the heading law of multiple proportion. Law of multiple proportion, students. And here this law of multiple proportion, it states that when two elements combines with each other to form 2 or more than 2 compounds. Listen this statement carefully. When 2 elements combines with each other to form 2 or more than 2 compounds, 2 or more than 2 compounds, the mass of one element that combines with a fixed mass of another element, which bears a simple whole number ratio by mass. That is the statement of law of multiple proportion, students. Please try to understand the statement of law of multiple proportion. I repeat the statement here. Listen it carefully. When 2 elements combines with each other, to form 2 or more than 2 compounds, in which the mass of one element that combines with fixed mass of another element, which bears a simple whole number ratio. That is the statement of law of multiple proportion, students. Let us take an example for law of multiple proportion. The nitrogen combines with oxygen. Nitrogen combines with oxygen to form nitrous oxide, and the second compound is nitric oxide. So two different compounds are formed here. One is nitrous, that is N2O, and the second one is called as a nitric oxide, NO. So in both the compounds, the mass of one element that combines with a fixed mass of other element, which bears a simple whole number ratio by mass. Listen the second sentence in this statement carefully. The mass of one element. Now in this nitrous oxide, nitrogen. What is the atomic mass of nitrogen? Yes, 14. How many nitrogen atoms here? 2. 14 into 2, 28. 28 gram of nitrogen combines with 16 gram of oxygen here. This is the whole number ratio, 20 is to 16. And in the nitric oxide, in this nitric oxide, one nitrogen and one oxygen. The mass of nitrogen is 14 and the mass of oxygen is 16 gram. Listen this point carefully. Listen the second sentence in this statement. The mass of one element that combines with a fixed mass of other element. A fixed mass of other element which bears a simple whole number ratio by mass. So this itself we call it as a law of multiple proportion, students. Listen this point carefully. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪಲ್ ಪ್ರಪೋರ್ಷನ್ ಒಳಗಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತಲ್ರಿ ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ಮಾಸ್ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. The mass of one element is fixed in this law of multiple proportion. ನೋಡಿ ನೈಟ್ರಸ್ ಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಒಳಗ ನೈಟ್ರೋಜನ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಜೋಡಿ ಕಂಬೈಂಡ್ ಆಯ್ತು, ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಒಳಗೂ ನೈಟ್ರೋಜನ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಜೋಡಿ ಕಂಬೈಂಡ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಈ ಎರಡು ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಒಳಗ ಮಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಒನ್ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎರಡೂ ಕೇಸಸ್ ಒಳಗೂ ಎರಡೂ ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಒಳಗೂ ಮಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅಲ್ರಿ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಂಟ್ ಇದೆ. ಹಿಯರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಇಟ್ is 16 and here also it is 16. So this is regarding the law of multiple proportion concept, students. I repeat this statement. You please listen it carefully. When two elements combines with each other, when two elements combines with each other to form two or more than two compounds, the mass of one element that combines with a fixed mass of other which bears a simple whole number ratio by mass. So this is the statement of law of multiple proportion, students. And this law of multiple proportion was given by the scientist name called as John Dalton. The law was given by the scientist name called as John Dalton. So one of the important drawback or one of the important limitation of this law of multiple proportion, if two elements combine to form various compounds, if two elements combine to form various compounds with varying composition, that means the ratio is totally different. There is no fixed whole number ratio. In such cases, so this law it does not holds good. Okay, this is the demerit or this is the drawback of this law of multiple proportion, students. Okay, so this is about the third important law of chemical combination. And now coming to the next one, that is law of combining volumes, or it is also called as Gay-Lussac's law of combining volumes. This law of combining volumes was given by the scientist name called as Gay-Lussac. Therefore, the name is Gay-Lussac's law of combining volumes also. And according to this Gay-Lussac's law of combining volumes, it states that when a gaseous reactants combine to form a gaseous products, when gaseous reactants combine to form a gaseous products, they do so in volumes they do so in volumes which bears a simple whole number ratio to one another under the similar conditions of temperature and pressure. Please listen and try to understand this fourth important law. The law of combining volumes, or the Gay-Lussac's law of combining volumes. So this law was given by the scientist named called as Gay-Lussac. According to this law of combining volumes, it states that, listen this statement student, it states that when gaseous reactants combine to form a gaseous product, they do so in volumes which bears a simple whole number ratio to one another under the similar conditions of temperature and pressure. That is the statement of law of combining volumes, students. And already you know that this law was given by Gay-Lussac. And according to this statement, let us take an example. So, one volume of hydrogen combines with one volume of chlorine. It forms two volume of hydrochloric acid. Listen this statement example carefully. One volume of hydrogen combines with one volume of chlorine to form two volumes of hydrochloric acid. They bears a simple whole number ratio. What is the simple whole number ratio here? 1:1:2. Similarly, one more example is the carbon monoxide combines with oxygen molecule to form carbon dioxide. This is the one more example. And in this example, the gaseous reactants combine to form gaseous products. Reactants are also in the form of gaseous state, and product is also in the form of gaseous state, students. And here, the volume of carbon monoxide is 2, volume of oxygen is 1, and the volume of carbon dioxide is 2 here. So, they bears a simple whole number ratio of 2:1:2 here. So this is regarding the second example for the law of combining volumes, or law of Gay-Lussac's law of combining volumes, students. Is there any doubt in this fourth law? Please try to understand these laws carefully. I repeat this statement. When gaseous reactants combine to form gaseous products, they do so in volume which bears a simple whole number ratio to one another under the similar conditions of temperature and pressure. So this is regarding the statement of fourth important law. And now coming to the last one, the fifth important law called as Avogadro's law. The fifth important law called as Avogadro's law. And here, this Avogadro's law was given by the scientist name called as Avogadro. According to Avogadro, this law states that equal volume of different gases are measured under same number of molecules under the similar conditions of temperature and pressure. Listen the last fifth law of chemical combination, students, Avogadro's law. So according to Avogadro, so this Avogadro's law, it states that equal volume of different gases are measured under same number of molecules, or equal volume of different gases contains same number of particles under the same conditions of temperature and pressure, students. And now based on this statement, so let us explain the example. So 22.4 centimeter cube. 22.4 centimeter cube or 22.4 decimeter cube. Let us write decimeter cube here. 22.4 decimeter cube of carbon dioxide contains 6.022 into 10 raised to 23 particles in it. Listen this example carefully. ನೋಡ್ರಿ ಎಷ್ಟು dm cube of carbon dioxide ರೀ 22.4 decimeter cube. You please recall the volume concept. 1 dm cube means it is nothing but 1000 centimeter cube, or 1 dm cube is nothing but 1 liter. Either you can write it as 22.4 dm cube or you can write it as 22.4 liter. So this much volume of carbon dioxide contains these many number of particles under the similar conditions of temperature and pressure, students. One more example, let us take 22.4 dm cube of oxygen also contains these many number of particles. Please try to understand this Avogadro's law. ನೋಡ್ರಿ ಅವಾಗಾಡ್ರೋ ಲಾದ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ನಮಗೆ ಅವಾಗಾಡ್ರೋ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಲಾ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳುತ್ತಪ್ಪ ನಮಗಂತಂದ್ರ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ವಾಲ್ಯೂಮ್. ನೋಡಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ವಾಲ್ಯೂಮ್ ಬಂದು 22.4, ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ವಾಲ್ಯೂಮ್ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು 22.4. ಹೌದಾ? ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ವಾಲ್ಯೂಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸಸ್ ಆರ್ ಮೇಜರ್ಡ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ಸೇಮ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್. Or equal volume of different gases contains same number of particles under the similar conditions of temperature and pressure. So this is regarding the statement of Avogadro's law. Is it clear, students? Is there any doubt in this? ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಏನು ತಗೊಂಡಿರೋದು ಬರೀ 2 ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್, ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ನಾನು. ಸೊ ನಿಮಗೆ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಸಲ್ಫರ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ತಗೊಳ್ರಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿನೂ ವಾಲ್ಯೂಮ್ ಸೇಮ್ 22.4 dm cube of sulfur dioxide contains same number of particles under the same conditions of temperature and pressure. Okay, so this is about the fifth important law of a chemical combination called as Avogadro's law. Is there any doubt? See, all these 5 laws comes under laws of a chemical combination, and all these 5 laws are there in NCERT textbook also. ಹೌದಾ? So NCERT ಪ್ರಕಾರ ನಿಮಗಿರೋದು first 5 laws. Now in addition to these 5 laws, the sixth important law, the sixth important law of a chemical combination is the law of reciprocal proportion. It is an additional information for competitive examination point of view, student. And this law of reciprocal proportion, according to this law of reciprocal proportion, this law it states that if two elements separately combines with a fixed mass of third element, so the ratio in which the elements will combine together will be the same. The law of reciprocal proportion it states that if two elements separately combines with a fixed mass of third element, in which the third element, the ratio in which two elements will combine together will be the same. This is the statement of law of reciprocal proportion, students. Listen this statement carefully. I repeat the statement. The law of reciprocal proportion, it states that if two elements separately combines with a fixed mass of a third element, the ratio in which two elements will combine together will be the same. So this is regarding the law of reciprocal proportion, students. According to this law of reciprocal proportion, let us take an example. If two elements separately combines with fixed mass of sulfur and oxygen, two elements separately combines with a fixed mass of a third element. Sulfur, when it combines with hydrogen, it forms H2S. Oxygen, when it combines with hydrogen, it forms H2O. So both the elements combines separately with the fixed mass of a third element. Here it forms H2S. In this H2S, the mass of hydrogen is 2, and in this water molecule, the mass of hydrogen is 2. That means fixed mass of third element. And here the simple whole number ratio is 2:32, and here it is 2:16. And these two elements, so even also sulfur combines with oxygen to form sulfur dioxide in the ratio 32:32. That means mass of sulfur is 32 and mass of oxygen is 16 into 232 here. Okay, so this is the example for law of reciprocal proportion, students. You please remember this for the competitive examination point of view, students. Is there any doubt in this concept? Now, with the help of these laws of chemical combinations, the next important concept in this chapter is the Dalton's atomic theory. So, to explain the observed laws of chemical combinations and other known facts, the scientist named called as John Dalton. In the year 1808 introduced a new system of chemical philosophy. Called as atomic theory, or it is also called as Dalton's atomic theory, students. So let us discuss what are the important features or what are the important postulates of this Dalton's atomic theory. So in the Dalton's atomic theory, the first important postulate is matter. Matter is composed of a very small particles or a very minute particles called as atom. This is the first important statement, first important postulate. The second postulate is definition of atom. Please recall the definition. The smallest particle of an element which take part in a chemical reaction is called as atom, student. So the definition of atom is act as a second postulate of atomic theory. I repeat the second postulate. The smallest particle of an element which takes part in a chemical reaction is called as atom. And now coming to the third one, the third postulate is atom can neither be created nor be destroyed. And now coming to the fourth one, the atoms of same element exhibit same properties, whereas atoms of different element exhibit different properties. Listen this fourth postulate carefully. Atoms of same element. In a carbon element anta tagonde antandre, this carbon element, it is made up of number of carbon atoms, number of identical atoms. Andre carbon element ಒಳಗಿರುವಂತ ಎಲ್ಲಾ atoms carbon atoms. ಎಲ್ಲಾ atoms carbon atoms ಅಂದಾಗ all these carbon atoms exhibit the same type of characteristics. Whereas atoms of different elements exhibit different properties, students. If I take zinc element and second one is copper element, zinc is separate and copper is separate. So zinc element is made up of zinc atoms, whereas copper element exhibit copper atoms. That means the properties of these two atoms are different. The atoms of different elements are exhibit different properties, whereas atoms of same element exhibit same type of property. This is the fourth important characteristic feature or the postulate of Dalton's atomic theory, students. And now the fifth important property, fifth important postulate. The fifth important postulate is the atoms of different element combine to form compound atom, or it is also called as a molecule. So this is about the fifth important postulate of Dalton's atomic theory, students. And all these five postulates are very simple postulates. ಹೌದಾ ಎಲ್ಲ 5 postulates simple postulates ಇದಾವೆ. So I repeat those 5 postulates, please listen. The first one, matter is composed of a minute or a small particle called as atom. Second one, definition of atom, the smallest particle of an element which takes part in a chemical reaction is called as a atom. The third one, atom can neither be created nor be destroyed. Then the fourth one is atoms of same element exhibit same properties, whereas atoms of different element exhibit different properties. And the last postulate is the atoms of different elements combine to form a compound atom, or we call it as a molecule. Please remember all these 5 postulates under Dalton's atomic theory, students. Is there any doubt in this Dalton's atomic theory? So to explain the observed laws of chemical combinations and other known facts, the scientist name called as John Dalton in the year 1808 introduced a new system of chemical philosophy called as Dalton's atomic theory, students. And based on this Dalton's atomic theory, in the exam only one possible question they may ask, that is, write the postulates of Dalton's atomic theory. And this question carries 3 or 4 marks in the examination, students. ಹೌದಾ 4 ಮಾರ್ಕಿಗೆ ಅಥವಾ 3 ಮಾರ್ಕಿಗೆ postulates ಅನ್ನಷ್ಟೇ ನಿಮಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಈ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಮೇಲೆ. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಯ್ತು ನಿಮಗೆ? Is there any doubt in this Dalton's atomic theory, students? Listen, students. So up to significant figures, then scientific notation and the calculations involving scientific notation. Based on all these, in the given material, the concept application exercise is given. Okay, the multiple choice questions are given here. So before solving these concept application exercise 1, once you go through the concepts and then you start solving these questions. Okay, if you find any difficulties, you please ask me. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರಲ್ಲ ಇದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊತಾ ಹೋಗ್ರಿ. And the name itself indicates that all these questions are based on conceptual question. ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ನಾವೇನು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಹೇಳಿದಿಲ್ಲ ಅದ್ರ ಬೇಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಫ್ರೇಮ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಆನ್ಸರಿಂಗ್ ದೀಸ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಯು ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ರೀಡ್ ದಿ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ and then start solving the questions. Okay, based on today's class, these are the assignment questions, students. Okay, so the first question is state law of multiple proportion. Second question, state law of combining volumes. Third one is state Avogadro's law. Fourth one is write the postulates of Dalton's atomic theory. Okay, so all these are assignment questions based on today's class, students. Okay, so with this I conclude my today's class. Thank you.